Hello and welcome back to my podcast. My podcast is based on my writings at WaygookinWay.com. You can always go there to see reviews, questions answered, all types of stuff involving Korean and Korean American culture, all from my point of view as a non-Korean. You can follow me on social media, the links are down below, or you can always email me at contact@WaygookinWay.com. That's contact at WaygookinWay.com. So the last episode I had talked about an issue involving a cryptic message from Amber from FX talking about how she was frustrated, how she had been patient, how the fans have been patient as well. And so if you're not big into K-pop, you might be wondering who Amber is and why what she has to say is interesting. Why do people care about her group, things of that nature. Amber is definitely someone that you can call anti-establishment, especially in the sense that she's not the traditional person that K-pop would push. And this is what I mean by that. Beauty is definitely something that is pushed heavy in Korean culture. So when you think about Korean women, they want you to think of a very positive image. So one of the things I referenced in the blog post that I wrote is that there was a friend that I had whose wife was considered for a job with Korea Air as a flight attendant, and it was considered by other Korean Americans that knew them such an honor that she would even be considered for this job, because the feeling that people have is the very first thing you see about Korea, especially at that time before the internet was what it is today. The very first thing people saw about Korea that shaped how they viewed Koreans were the flight attendants at the airlines. So for that reason, they didn't want flight attendants that were considered average or ugly. They wanted really beautiful flight attendants so people would have the impression that Korean people, especially Korean women, are beautiful. And so that's why flight attendants sometimes will look similar when you're flying back and forth between like the United States and Korea, Canada and Korea, just because they want you to have that image. And so the way that they do things, sometimes plastic surgery is pushed heavily on especially young women. There's pressure, especially if a young Korean woman wants to be on TV, in dramas or in music, that she may need to have plastic surgeries to have her eyes made whiter or to have a slit put in her eyelid so that she can have that double eyelid, which has become a popular surgery as well. Korea, if you've been there, you know that for women, showing off your chest is something that is not really emphasized as much, but you can wear very, very short shorts and skirts. And the reason behind that, as one person explained to me, is that people tend to think that Korean people are short, so when women wear short skirts, it makes their legs look longer. So it gives the appearance that these are taller, sexier women. So things like that tend to get pushed on a lot of people. Not only that, but just pressure of culture to have a certain look. So there are a number of Korean American women that you will see on YouTube that will openly talk about how they don't like being around Korean culture because they have what's considered by many people to be an average body type, but to Koreans and Korean Americans, they are considered fat. And so they've been told outright that they're fat and need to go on a diet. And that really plays on the self-esteem of a lot of people, especially young women, to be told that they're fat when more than likely they're not fat at all. they look just fine, but the need to be super skinny, or I've known women that took pride in being a size 0 for their clothes. So it can definitely have a mental effect on a lot of young women, especially. So there's some women that I know, they've been on a diet pretty much their entire adult life because there's this standard of beauty that they feel like they just have to attain to but never can. And that will naturally affect you mentally and emotionally. And it's one of the saddest conversations I think I ever had was with a young woman. She was around 20 at the time, and she just felt a ton of pressure on her because she was feeling that she would never get married because she just wasn't pretty enough, and that there were so many other girls out there that were prettier than her. And so unless she did a lot of plastic surgery, no man would ever want her. But that, unfortunately, is what Korean culture pushes. And that's why you go through an area like Gangnam and you see a ton of plastic surgery, billboards, advertisements. You'll see them in the subway. It's something that's pushed. There's companies all the time that are popping up for cosmetic line, new type of diet, new type of exercise, trying to get people to spend their hard-earned money to try to fit this mold of what is a beautiful woman. And so even in entertainment, there was a group years ago that was very popular called Big Mama. In Korean, Big Mama, but pretty much the same in English. Big Mama was a group of women that were very talented, excellent singers, but they were considered too big to be put in front of a lot of people as solo artists. So oftentimes they would be in the background singing. And you would end up having women that were not as good, not as talented of singers, but because they had the right body type or a pretty face, then they would be pushed out there. And so they gained notoriety from, I believe it was their first music video, where it was a woman singing on stage very powerfully, and everybody was amazed. And then the curtain ends up falling down, and you see that it's them who's actually doing the singing, and she's just pretending to sing because people thought that this woman was more visually appealing. And so you've had stuff like that for years and years and years, and yet you have Amber who comes along. Amber, for those that don't know, is not Korean. Amber is Chinese American. So she was born in California. She's a rapper. And the way that she looks, she has shorter hair. She doesn't wear a ton of makeup. She's not somebody who's wearing big flowy dresses or the cutesy K-pop image. So she is not what Korean culture would push as being someone that's beautiful or desirable. In fact, she's the exact opposite of that. And so even to the point where there was a video that was put out where they took some YouTubers and they're trying to get them to guess, are you looking at a picture of a guy or a girl? And some people looked at her picture and didn't know if she was a man or a woman. And that's been something she's dealt with for a large part of her career. However, because of her talent and because of who she was and how confident she was, she ended up becoming the voice for a lot of people who didn't fit the typical mold of what Korea considered to be beautiful. And she gave people a lot of confidence that if they could just be themselves, that things would be okay. And so that's why people look at Amber and have an emotional reaction. And that's why people care so much about Amber, is because she represents hope, and she represents that you can be yourself and be okay, which is something that a lot of younger Korean and Korean Americans I talk to don't feel is an image that they get to see often. They're told that they have to conform and they have to mold, otherwise they're not wanted or desirable. So somebody like Amber, who's openly different in every way, but still can make it and be successful, definitely is a role model for a lot of people. And so her reach not only is in Korea and Korean culture, even though she's not Korean, but it's affected people all over the world. So if you're wondering, does Amber matter? She definitely does matter. And she matters really for all the right reasons. So if you're not familiar with Amber, you can definitely check online. There's a lot of stuff about her. She's done a lot and she's looking apparently to do a lot more. So hopefully she gets that opportunity too. But if you understand Korean culture and you understand what she represents, then you understand more why Amber from FX truly does matter to so many people. So thank you for listening in. Again, if you have any questions, email me at contact@WaygookinWay.com. Thank you for all that you've done. Please be sure to like this video, share it, and please subscribe to the channel as well. Thanks again, and always remember the best way to get rid of your nightmares is to live out your dreams. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.